This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, leading the league in podcasting entertainment.
What's up, what's up? Real MVPs, Ricky Widmer here, along with Dave Oster.
Hey, everybody.
I feel like for this podcast, I need to come up with like a name for you.
Yeah.
Because every single podcast I do, you've got Johnny's fellow man-child.
Yep.
Brandon was the one, the only. Do I just start calling you the one, the only Dave Oster?
I'm not the one, the only.
Yeah, you're not. Or do I do what Mark usually does, and I just call you the fear-filled host?
I am a fear-filled host, but
Like,
I'm not hosting the show.
Yeah, and that's
like, does that work?
I don't know. Mark did it when we did the NFL live mock.
He did, but I feel like that was a showcase episode.
That's what I thought as well. But I figured, I'm like, I got to come up with a name for Dave instead of just saying, hey guys, I'm here with Dave.
Yeah, I mean,
yep, that's it.
It works for me.
Very casual.
It's very
like
easy.
Dave Oster on the side of the table. But we are here, Primetime Podcast, talking about usually college football, college basketball, but we're kind of in draft mode as both seasons are over. Off season is usually where we go a little bit more into the draft, NFL and NBA style. And today's a big board, Dave. We're down to 2. After today, we're down to 1.
Yeah.
Only one big board left.
Time
and then
flies.
we just hand it off to the fast break for mock drafts for the rest of June.
My hand
before
off
we get
to myself.
Yeah, we give the hand up, we throw it up in the air, and we catch it ourselves. Now.
Yes, we do.
But how this is going to work is actually a convoluted podcast, as we will have the big board, but we got to start with more pressing issues, as the NFL draft is this week. I am doing the same thing I did last year, Dave. Last year, on top of Mark and I's mock draft, last year we did 5, this year we did 6. I do an extra mock draft the week of the draft, and it's usually our only one that involves trades. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run through the entire first round of the draft. It's only the first round.
Yeah, thank you.
With the trades, and then we'll talk about it for a little bit, and then we'll go right into the big board. Before I get into it, though, make sure you check out patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcast to help support us. We are in a 10 by 12 box right now. We want to move to a bigger box. And how do we do that? Your help through patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcast. Link is down below. But Dave, let's move on into our next topic. And this is really the meat and potatoes of everything, is our NBA big board. What would this be, 4.0? I lose track half the time.
It is
4.0.
It is 4.0.
And this is the second one that you've been on this college season.
Starting to make a habit out of this.
The last time you were on, was that the 2.0 that you were on? That was the 2.0.
Yeah, I laid out a pretty great 2.0. Set the standard pretty high.
Yeah, I'm looking at it not too far off. There's guys the only guys that have pretty much fallen off, and I'm going to say this only because it's not spoilers,
With all due,
is Charles Bassey and Lugans Dort.
Yeah.
Like, those are guys we were higher on earlier that we're not on. Oh, and Trey Jones, obviously, because he went back. But how we will do this is Sean also gave us his. Sean was going to be here, but he's feeling under the weather, so we hope you get well soon, big guy, and I cannot wait. And I don't mean to rip into your big board, but you're just not here to defend it.
I'm going to pick on it.
And I've got some things to question about it. I'm not being mean when I do that, Sean. But we'll have Dave. You'll go first with yours, and then the question before you do.
Sure.
Do you want to read off Sean's, or do you want me to read off Sean's before we
should
do mine?
trade off.
We'll trade off for Sean.
Make it real difficult.
We'll do yours, then we'll do Sean's, then we'll do mine.
Okay.
So start off with yours.
At
Start at
25.
25, go to 16.
At number 25, I've got Cameron Johnson. Why do you write Cameron? It's just Cam Johnson. His name's Cam.
That's what I had.
His name's Cam Johnson. At 24, I've got Grant Williams from Tennessee. At 23, I've got Matisse Thybulle from Washington. 22, I've got KZ Okpala from Stanford. At 21, I've got Romeo Langford out of Indiana. At 20, I've got Keldon Johnson out of Kentucky. At 19, I've got his buddy, Tyler Hero, also out of Kentucky. At 18, I've got Rui Hachimura. I can't do the year thing, but we'll get to that later.
I'll do it when we get to him.
At 17, I've got PJ Washington, Kentucky. And at 16, I've got Nickeil Alexander-Walker.
So for Sean's, we'll alternate. I'll go first. At number
Sure.
25, he's got KZ Okpala, the forward out of Stanford.
At 24, he's got my boy, Nasir Little, out of UNC.
Then at 23, he's got Keldon Johnson, the guard forward out of Kentucky.
At 22, he's got Kevin Porter Jr. out of USC.
Then at 21, he's got Matisse. It's not Matthias.
It's just Matisse.
Matisse Thybulle, forward out of Washington.
And number 20, he's got Tyler Hero, guard out of Kentucky.
Then at 19, he's got Daniel Gafford, the Gaff Man, center out of Arkansas.
Oh, you're going to have to do this one for me.
Then we've got at 18, Rui Hachimura. Chamora, the forward out of Gonzaga.
At number 17, he's got Jackson Hayes, the center out of Texas.
Then you take this one,
And
big guy.
at 16, Sean's go to the draft.
The GOAT.
I'm surprised he's not number 1 on Sean's board.
The GOAT in his mind.
Naz Reid, forward out of LSU.
And then into my number 25, Cam Johnson, the forward out of UNC. Then Matisse Thybulle, forward out of Washington at 24. I slow down on that one because I want to say Matthias because that's what we learned it as.
No, because Matthias was Matthias Lesort.
Yeah, and now I'm relearning it as Matisse. Then at 23, Keldon Johnson, the guard forward out of Kentucky. Then 22, Grant Williams, forward out of Tennessee. 21, Nasir Little, forward out of UNC. Then at 20, my man Lewis King, the forward out of Oregon. Then at 19, Romeo Langford. Romeo's crying because he's fallen on my big board.
He's fallen on all of our boards.
The guard out of Indiana. Then at 18, Jackson Hayes, center from Tejas. Number 17, Nikhil Alexander-Walker, guard from Virginia Tech. And then at 16, P.J. Washington, forward out of Kentucky. Let's start with the first guy. We've got 3 guys that we're going to hit in this segment. We'll start with the first one, Dave, because this is one that you were you looked at Sean's, you're like, wow, he's kind of low on Sean's. But then you looked at mine and you went, wow, you've got him almost at the same spot. I've got him at 18. Sean has him at 17. You have him a little bit higher.
I got him at 13. What's
going on with Jackson Hayes?
I'm a little surprised because I get it. He was a raw player, but this man has the tools to be an elite defender in the NBA. One of the best skill sets of a 5 that you could want out of a college player. Super active, long, lean. He has a natural knack for blocking shots. A lot of people want to argue, is he a true rim protector or just does he have great defensive instincts? I think it's a bit of both. His offensive game, while limited, is still not bad. He's good at catching lobs. He has one post move that I've watched basically all year. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Post move.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. He can add on to his game at the NBA level. The big knock against him is his rebounding numbers and percentage isn't fantastic, but at the same time, he's a player who I think has a lot of room to grow, ton of upside, but also delivered pretty well at the college level. So I look at his true shooting percentage. It's incredible. I think there's just a lot to love about him as a prospect.
Yeah, the thing that I kind of think about with Jackson Hayes, and this is twofold for me, because first off, I hate on the center position. Let's be honest.
It's fair. Unless you're a unicorn, I mean, how much help can a center really bring in year 1, year 2, year 3?
Exactly.
It takes time.
And that's why with me, it's when I was seeing Jackson Hayes in the top 10, I'm like, really? I'm going to take it on a center when I can get a wing. I can get a Wang out here.
Wangs for days.
And just, I can grab a center who's been around. I can grab Andrew Bogut and be fine, Dave.
Andrew Bogut ain't coming back for anybody but the Golden State Warriors.
I don't have to throw a draft pick in the top 10 at a Jackson Hayes. But to me, I think the question really comes down to, for me, and this is why I had him higher than Jackson Hayes, is as we get closer to the draft, it's going to come between the comparison of Goga and Jackson Hayes. Which one do you prefer? Because there are differences. One's a little bit more raw, comes from college.
Yep.
The other one, I believe, is a year older. No, not a year. Is it? Yeah, by the draft, Goga will be 19.
You almost said Gorga again.
I almost did. I stopped myself, though. His draft age will be 19.92, whereas Jackson Hayes will have just almost turned 19. So one's almost going to be turning 20. The other one just turned 19.
Jackson's super young. Yeah.
But the question I have for Jackson Hayes is, yes, defense is nice, but number one, the 3 ball is non-existent. He didn't take one all the time.
My centers don't shoot threes.
Whereas at least Goga is taking threes. I know he's only averaging about 1.5 per game, but he's shooting the 3 ball and can if he wants to. But the big one for me is rebounds. This is a kid that in, 32 games only averaged 5 rebounds per game.
Give him the asterisk for the minutes played per game.
25.3 per game, so I will give him that. But is that a red flag? Should that be a big red flag for teams that look at Hayes?
It's definitely a bit of a concern. I think it's something that you're going to have to take a look at a lot of the game film to see, like, is he boxing out more often? Is he pulling the Brook Lopez game where it's like, I'll box out, I'm not going to get you the rebound. Steven Adams, similar thing, but he's actually just an excellent rebounder on top of it. Is Texas doing that whole, get the ball in the point guard's hands? It's not really their thing. So no, like it's definitely one of his areas he needs to improve on. Am I saying that that's like a death knell to his draft stock and he should fall from the top 10? No. I still think that the value of having someone who can finish that well around the net and someone who absolutely has that unteachable instinct to go for swats, to go for off the backboard slaps, to just stop people from bringing the ball up around the hoop, I think that has value. And you look at the past couple of years of Texas centers and you go, well, there's sort of a pedigree here coming around. I think I feel pretty confident in going with Jackson Hayes and knowing I can continue to build on what he started at Texas.
So the question I will ask you is this, could you see Jackson Hayes developing into a guy that scores, let's say, 14 to 16 points per game, grabs about, let's go on the low end here, about maybe 5 to 8, maybe 5 to 9 rebounds per game.
It's wide range, okay.
But averages like 2 blocks a game and adds that type of a game to his team if he is playing, let's say, 30-plus minutes per game and starts for his team. I'm talking down the line, not rookie year.
Yeah, I mean, I think the scoring's probably a little bit high. I think he's more in line with probably like 10 points a game, 7 boards, but I could see a block and a half. Absolutely. I think he's a guy who, you don't need the ball in his hands, but if you want to roll him like Clint Capella, sure. He's a less, I'm trying to find a nice way to say it, a less physically interesting prospect than Mo Bamba.
Okay.
Mo Bamba has a better shot than him. He was willing to take more shots from the outside, or at least try to.
Yeah.
But it was that wingspan that set Mo Bamba apart. It was just he has that extra it factor to him.
And he's got a song.
And he's got a great song. Can't give him enough respect for that. But I think it's very much similar. It's he's a guy who absolutely has what it takes at the NBA level. It will take him time to grow into that, though. Jarrett Allen, the same thing. This is his year, 2, and we're seeing Jarrett Allen, learn that he's still got a lot to learn about the game, but he's muscling up a decent bit since he's joined the NBA. He's looking better, and I think there's a learning curve there or a growth curve for centers. It's not often that you get someone who can come in the league and looks like DeAndre Ayton. We got lucky. We got lucky with that.
And the thing that I think comes in, this is the last thing I'll say about the centers. I'll even bring Bruno into this, who was not in our top 25.
Yeah.
Each one of these centers, Ball being the difference because he's the unicorn.
Yep.
Jackson Hayes is that raw prospect who, like you said, can give you defense, could give you maybe 10 points a game.
Yeah, easy. Yep.
But the big thing you're leaning on is offense and finishing around the rim.
Yeah, I mean, those points are coming. He's going to shoot, 4 out of 5 or 5 out of 6.
Whereas Goga is more to me the biggest strength that you have with him is the same thing we kind of looked at Luka last year, is that he's been playing professionally since 2015. He's a 19-year-old kid, almost 20 by the draft, but he's been playing professionally overseas since he was, 16?
Yeah.
15, 16? So he's had that professional kind of, like the same thing we see, and I don't want to, like, every time I say this, it's kind of like we group them all together.
You can.
But it's like the same thing that, like, why Manu Ginobili and, like, all the overseas, most of them, it's like, oh, we're drafting you because you have that pro experience on top of what we like. And then I look at Bruno, and the big thing is if you don't want Jackson Hayes, you don't want Goga, you're drafting Bruno because he's a guy that hauled in 10, almost 11 boards per game.
He is an elite rebounder.
In 30 minutes, though. He was playing, nearly 5 more minutes per game than Jackson Hayes was?
He's still an elite rebounder at the college level. He's definitely gifted there. I think the decision between Jackson and Goga is going to be how much do you trust the little tape of Goga that you have.
True.
And that's the thing. We're coming up right now, the end of, I know for like a player we'll talk about later in Sekou, like last couple games of their chunk, I think they've got like 5 more that I saw the schedule for, and it's like, okay, I'm really going to be locked in on those games.
Yeah.
But I think with Goga and Jackson, it's just what does the tape tell you? You've got so much tape on Jackson Hayes. You know everything about his game at this point. We're waiting for the combine, which will be exciting to see the official measurements and weigh in. You know, can he put on size and still keep that really nice touch around the rim, not throw off his game? But Goga is just, when you watch him play, he's a much more polished player. Yeah. Absolutely, you know, like you said, going up against grown men for a couple of years now. With him, it just comes down to the stigma of being an international player, to be entirely honest. So,
what about, let's move away from the centers.
Sure.
Let's go into a guy that I think we've talked about, and I think I've done this every single big board. Let's see. On the 3.0, we've talked about him. On the 2.0, I know for damn sure me and you talked about him. We didn't? Oh, that's right. We did the week before. We did a full segment on him. That's why we didn't talk about him on the 2.0. We talked about him during the 1.0. So nearly every single big board, we have mentioned this guy's name.
Really?
What is the latest in your mind on the Nasir Little update? Yeah, this is a prospect that we have talked about every single big board.
He's a little popular.
Because, I mean, popular or not popular, depending on how you want to look at it. What's your thought process? I still have him 2 spots lower than I did the last time. He's at 21 for me. For you, he's a little bit higher. Spoiler, he's going to be at 15 for you. And then Sean has him at 24 on his.
I think for me, the hardest thing about Nasir Little is trying not to be overly critical of his role in college. And that was the biggest thing that stood out was, you know, everybody wants to be like, well, Roy's an old coach. You know, he plays his seniors. He goes veteran heavy. And you had Kobe White out there basically being the like asterisk to the rule, being like, well, he was so good, he got his minutes. You know, Nasir Little doesn't have the shooting touch that Cam Johnson has. So he wasn't going to get the time out there. But at the same time, Nasir Little, when he was against much weaker opponents, absolutely exploited them. And that was like the Nasir Little that we wanted to see all year.
Like the Iona game.
Yeah. Like, give me that. Give me, like, efficient. You're great size. You're able to take the ball and dominate. And I think seeing that still gives me the sparks of hope of being like, the dude's just a little raw. He's got to work on his shot. He's got to work on his touch. But he's got the physical body of an NBA player, which not everybody can grow into that. And I think that's one of the biggest things for me is when you come in as a ready-made physical specimen like that, and all you need to do is work on the basics. You can work on your shooting. You can improve the percentages, you know, year over year over year, but you're not going to magically be his size with his muscle mass and be able to slide on defense as well as he can. So I'm hesitant to slide him down my board more because as a prospect, yes, you are, you know, working with somebody who has some broken pieces of his game, but at the end of the day, the product itself, he is NBA worthy from a body standpoint.
And the thing I like and that I agree with when it comes to Little is, from what I'm seeing here, it's a quote from SI's big board. Where they say, this isn't to say that Little won't eventually be able to cut it, but evaluators have been forced to reassess his development curve, and he looks like a long-term project. Still, with his build and athletic ability, there should be a role for him if he can expand his skill set. And for me, that's the thing that is going to cut it in the draft, is a team that's, the only way he falls is if a team that's in the lottery or even just out of the lottery goes, I like him, but I am not marrying myself to Nasir Little. I don't know if I'm going to have 3 years to work with, so I'm going to go with a different guy that I know will be able to be what we think he'll be quicker than Nasir Little. Like, that's the only thing that I think separates him.
Guys give up quickly.
I have him low.
Guys give up quickly, man. That's the thing I hate about the NBA is they're so young and they've got so much time they need to develop it. And it's
also a job thing. Like, if I'm a GM or a player personnel guy making these moves, if I'm on shaky ground already, they're not going to draft Nasir Little because it's like, you know what? Like, he's going to need time to develop, and my job might be on the line.
It's very true. I look at a team, you know, a little just after the lottery in like the Spurs, and I'm like, that could be an interesting team for him to grow on. You know, even if you want to go a little bit higher and think like if you're at 13 and the Heat fall in love with Nasir Little for some reason, same thing. We love the Heat. We love the Spurs as far as developmental floor players. They both do a great job at it. They have a great track record. But the same way, there's several teams in that just, end of lottery to early 20s where I'm like, I could see him going there, disappearing off radars for a bit, getting his workout on, and being a valuable NBA player in a year or two. 3 years, who knows?
And I think out of the teams that are in the top 20, or I'll say of the teams that are in the top 18, I'll say.
Yep.
I like Miami. Brooklyn, I feel like, could be a good team because I don't think they're going to be a team that, because they've made the playoffs this year, because of what D'Lo has looked like, I don't think if I'm their GM, I'm not scared of being fired because of the success that we've had.
They can take projects. They're great at developing players.
But like
clearly.
every team in the playoffs, like 21 where I have them on that big board, Oklahoma City would be a great spot for them.
I mean, I think I nailed it with my last one.
Yeah, doesn't need to worry about anything. You got Russ and PG there.
Their head coach is getting fired, but,
Is he, though? I mean...
If he loses to the Blazers in a sweep, he should get fired.
I mean, should.
Or not a sweep, because they won one game,
Yeah,
didn't
they won game 3.
Yep.
Should, but will he? We'll wait to see. I don't know if they'll
Hopefully.
move on by
But it's
Billy
an athletic
Donovan.
wing who can't play basketball. That's their jam. They're all about that.
I mean, they took the slam dunk champ. Well, was he the slam dunk champion this year? I thought he was.
Amadou Diallo. And they had Terrence Ferguson the year before, and he's paying dividends. He's a streaky three-point shooter, but he'll get there.
Even Boston, with their abundance of picks,
could
take him at either 20 or 22.
Yeah, Boston, because they need more wings. Like, you could treat him like a shitty version of Jaylen Brown.
Yeah, I mean,
he's a slashing wing.
We bashed on Jaylen Brown. Look what happened to him.
We bashed on him because he was raw. He developed his game quicker than we expected. Nasir Little could be the same thing. I think Nasir Little, it wouldn't shock me on draft night if he went 10.
Yeah,
like that's what I'm saying. Like, I think that if a team really thinks that he has got the makeup and the build that they love, and they're like, I know how we can make him and take him from here to here.
It's funny that you say that because out of the top 10 teams, the one that I could see making that move is Minnesota.
Yeah.
Just because they're a team where it's like, screw it, we like them. We're going to take them, even though
a lot
of people really don't like.
But they've already paid Wiggins so much
Exactly. Michael Jordan. But yeah, I mean, I think for his career, it'd benefit him to fall to those playoff teams.
Probably.
The situation I won't like, and I'll say this because the Tankathon has him going there, is Detroit. I don't want him anywhere near Detroit.
It's Stanley Johnson all over again. Except he's worse at defense, but he's a better shooter.
There, and I know that they're having a little bit of stability, but
come on, Kanad with Blake, Drummond, Reggie Jackson. You fill in that 3. You need somebody other than fucking Langston Galloway and. I forget the other guy's name.
I don't think they're a team that takes on a project there. I think
Wayne
they're a
Ellington.
team that takes somebody else to quickly fill that hole.
Ideally.
And not take that project.
Ideally.
The last guy I want to bring up is somebody for me that is shooting up my board.
Yeah.
In the mock draft that we recently did, I had him as high as 11, I want to say, to the Lakers. And that's Tyler Hero. What are your thoughts on Tyler Hero at this point as we do this big board? Because I have to reopen mine. I have him, spoiler alert, I'll have him at 12. Dave has him at 19. Sean has him at 20.
Yeah, I want to put him higher. He is an excellent shooter, one of the best shooters we've seen coming out of college in a long time. I know that Patreon segment with John come on.
Did you say the best shooter in the draft? Is that what you said during that segment?
I think he is, yeah. Okay.
I was just trying to remember if you said that during the John segment.
It's either him or Bull, But yeah, I think that he is...
Sure it's not Cam Reddish?
It's definitely not Cam Reddish. He's one of the most... He's one of the best shooters. He's got a great stroke. He's got good wingspan to him. I'm assuming it's going to be average to slightly above average.
Yeah.
I don't think he'll walk in and have like a 6'11" wingspan. So we'll have to see. Defensively, he has a lot of effort. I think he's still learning to read people because there's just a lot of times where he bites early and gets burned for it. So he's going to be a liability early on. But the fact that he is an excellent shooter means a bench roll shooting guard is his ideal way to come up in the league and kind of build himself up. A lot of people want to take the easy one out of being, he's Luke Kennard, he's, shitty JJ Redick, shit like that. I think he can actually and I know Sean was picking on me, I think he can actually develop shots for himself. I don't think he's reliant to his coming off screens or, having other guys make openings for him. I think he can ball handle a little bit when asked to. So he probably could go higher on mine. There's just a lot of guys where I'm like, I feel like there's some solid upside here. And for an excellent shooter, yes. I mean, he could be lights out, learn to play defense, and be an absolute steal.
Yeah, it's one of those. The thing I like the most about him is you say, like, it's not just the shooter, it's what type of shots he shoots as well.
Yeah.
And when you have that 3-point shot in your arsenal, especially nowadays, like.
And it's not the fluky 3-point shot. Because his free throw percentage is, like 93%?
93.5.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, he was only going to the line for 2.5, but he was making them.
That's the point.
Like, that's the thing.
He is consistently making shots, and he was huge for Kentucky down the line. He came up big when it counted,
Mm-hmm. And I mean, I'm looking at it, it's like, what? His last college stats were average 32 a game, or 32 minutes per game.
Yeah, I was like, what?
14 points per game, shot 33 from the line, 35 from 3, and then 46 from the field, from the free throw line.
Yeah, you're going to have to re-say those because you said 33 from the line, and I'm like, he did not shoot 33 from the line.
So he shot 32 minutes per game.
Yeah.
14 points per game.
Yep.
Shot 93.
Yeah, thank
from
you.
The line.
I was going to be like
93 from the
fuck?
line.
No.
35 from 3. 46. That dyslexia, man, that I don't have.
Yeah.
I just run right through them sometimes.
Obviously.
The brain moves quicker. The mouth moves quicker than the brain. Is that what they say?
Yeah.
But yeah, 93.
I mean, Cam Johnson's a great shooter, and he's at the very bottom of mine and yours. I think he's probably, a lot of people want to give him the credit for being one of the best shooters. And I, to be honest, he has volume over Tyler Hero. So at the end of the day, I guess Cam Johnson, I have to asterisk myself and say Cam Johnson's probably the best shooter. Tyler Hero, though, is 3 years younger and has 3 or 4 years younger and has room to grow. Yeah, because I feel like Cam Johnson feels like a fifth year to me. I don't know if he actually is, so Ricky will check.
Cam Johnson is 23 years old.
Yeah, Cam Johnson's old.
By the time of the draft, Tyler is going to be about almost 19 and a half.
Yep.
Whereas Cam Johnson by the draft will be 23 and 3/12.
Yeah. 20 and a half, 21 and a half, 22.
Yeah, and a quarter. So 23 and a quarter.
Yeah, so 4 years.
Yeah.
I'm just calling it 4 years. Yeah, it's a big deal. It's a big deal. That's my point.
And I mean, also the thing that, the 3-pointers there for Cam Johnson.
Yeah,
as
and it's
more.
Great volume.
Yeah, he shot only one more a game than Tyler. I just think, like, to me, the question is, Tyler's range is so big in this draft where I could see him being a guy that goes 10-11.
Yep.
I could also see we get to draft time, people fall in love with his shooting, and he gets drafted well into the top 10. I don't know necessarily if it will happen. That's why I have him at 11.
I don't know that a team will love him that much. I think he's got a lot of holes in the game still.
But I could also see teams passing on him to the fact where he goes 18, 19, 20 as well.
A lot of gas over there.
I do. I'm trying to hold
hearing
it
it on
in.
the mics, yeah.
Well, it's one of those things. While I'm talking, I don't want to let it out while it talks. So it comes out on its own. Like,
it's hilarious, man.
And my mind is basically like, no, come back. I don't want you to come out.
I don't know that he'll go top 10.
Just so you know, I am fighting it.
I don't know that he's a top 10 player, but he very well could, wind up as one of the 10 best players taken in this draft when it's all said and done.
Is he a player that is taken low enough to where 4 years down the line we go, wow, why was he taken so low?
I mean, I don't think he's going to Donovan Mitchell it, but I think he's going to be a very, very good player in the NBA.
Well, this is where you guys come in. Let us know what you think down below in the comment section. Also, let Sean know what you think of his big board because he's not here.
Naz Reid, tell us why he's the GOAT.
I'm actually very proud of myself. I did not bash Sean's big board because that's the thing. We'll see later on when we get to Sean's top 5 how when I saw it, I was like, oh, I wish he was going to be here.
I'm going to pick on Sean and say he's got Gafford on his big board at 19. Neither one of us even included Daniel Gafford on our big boards. And you made it sound like, you jumped right over Gafford. You said it was Who's your boy?
I like Fernando. Fernandez.
Yeah,
Bruno Fernandez.
The man who doesn't exist.
I like Fernando, though.
You like Fernando over Gafford?
Like, to me, I think Gafford will probably be a second rounder. That's what I just think the center position.
Yep.
The only two for sure that are going to be in the first round are Jackson and Goga.
Okay.
Bruno, if he is towards the end, and it's because of his reach.
Yep.
I'll say this: if Bruno's in the first round, it's because the Celtics targeted him and needed rebounding.
I mean, they do need rebounding. All right, I'll let you.
That's what I'm saying. But like Daniel Gafford, I like him. I want to put him higher. I used to have him higher. I just think that not many centers are going to go. Also, I wanted to look this up and say it before we ended things. You want to know how high I was on Nasir Little at the beginning of the year?
You're 1.0.
He was 5. He was number 5 at the beginning of the year. Now he's all the way at, what did I have him, 21 now? So just the rise and fall of Nasir Little.
Brandon had Naz Reid at 8. Sean must love Brandon.
You look at Brandon's, and like he had guys like Naz Reid was high, Chris Wilkes, who we've gotten comments on of like, how aren't you talking about Chris Wilkes?
Because not that
he
good.
Had him higher up. He had Kenny Wooten, who we've had comments about. The only one
is Brandon leaving comments in the comment section anonymously again.
The only one that I was like,
Jalen
I wish that we didn't have. Was
Quentin Grimes.
Quentin Grimes, because I had Quentin Grimes.
Nobody saw that coming.
I thought I had him higher. Where is he going? Yeah, I had him at 10. I had him in my top 10. And I was like, oh.
Did not see Quentin Grimes.
I thought he was going to be better than he was.
Struggling the way he did.
But this is where you guys come in. Let us know what you guys think down below. But Dave, let's move on into our 6 through 15. If you haven't checked out our 16 through 25, what are you doing? Go ahead and check that one out as well. We also have Sean's big board. Sean is not here today, not feeling or is feeling under the weather, so he's not here. Also, check out patreon.com/mostvaluable-podcast. If you want to help us get a new studio, make sure to join either the bronze, the silver, the gold tier at the bronze, silver, or gold, any of those. You can hear Dave and I talk about Dave's thumb, about me hitting my head. Oh, you don't have the big white thing anymore. I didn't notice that.
Yeah.
Now it's just a little wrap on that thing.
This weekend.
But you can hear the MVP podcast. Dave and I talk about that, me hitting my head, and a great video game called Juiced and why we loved it so very much. Have you played it yet?
No, I couldn't find it.
Okay.
I don't have the game.
It's not like Phantasy Star Online where we just ordered a new one and popped it in the
I could honestly
Wii.
go for that game again, and I think we're going to do it this summer.
All right. That sounds like a plan to me. But, Dave, we're going to go through 6 through 15. We'll start off with you. Give us your 15 through 6.
All right. It'd be great if I had this pulled up. Number 15, I had Nasir Little, forward out of UNC. We just got done talking about him in the last segment. Mm-hmm. At 14, I've got Goga Patazde. At number 13, I've got Jackson Hayes. At 12, I've got Kevin Porter Jr. At 11, I've got Sekou Demboya. At 10, Kobe White. At 9, I've got Darius Garland. 8, Brandon Clark. 7, Cam Reddish, still up there. And at 6, DeAndre Hunter.
And then we'll alternate for Sean's yet again. I'll go first. Number 15, he's got Romeo Langford, the guard out of Indiana.
At 14, he's got Goga Patazde.
13, he's got Nickeil Alexander-Walker, guard out of Virginia Tech.
At 12, he's got P.J. Washington.
Then at number 11, Kobe White, the guard out of UNC.
At 10, he's got Brandon Clark, the forward from Gonzaga.
Then at, what would that be, 9?
Yeah, I just keep clicking. Yeah.
Would be Sekou Demboya, the forward from International.
I love that. I love that we just stick with International. Like, yes, he's switched clubs, but like it doesn't matter. We're just International. Number 8, I've got Sean has Cam Reddish at number 8 out of Duke.
Then at number 7, he's got Bull, the center from Oregon. Yeah, it's like I'm eating cereal out of a bowl.
You're getting it. And at number 6, he's got Jarrett Culver, guard out of Texas Tech.
Yeah, you might be thinking to yourself, why does he have Jarrett Culver at 6? We'll get to that at the end of this segment.
Yep.
Very quickly. Then for me, number 15, Kevin Porter Jr., or as many people are saying, James Harden Light, the guard out of USC. Then at 14, Goga Batazde, center from International. We talked about him in the 16 through 25 segment. Then Darius Garland, the guard from Vandy at 13. Then at 12, Tyler Hero, the guard from Kentucky. 11, Sekou Demboya, forward from International. Then at number 10, Rui Hachimura. Chamora, the forward from Gonzaga. Then at 9, Cam Reddish. Or as you had on yours, you were telling me that I had Cameron Johnson off. You had Cameron Reddish.
I did.
On yours earlier. I'm like, Dave, it's Cam Reddish.
Nope.
Forward out of Duke. Then at 8, Kobe White, the guard from UNC. 7, Brandon Clark, the forward from Gonzaga. And then at number 6, Bol, the center from the Oregon Ducks. And Dave, the first one we're going to talk about is Sekou Demboya. We're going to keep the international train going. We talked about Goga Batazde. Now we're going to talk about Sekou Demboya. For you, what is your thought process through with Sekou? Because he's a guy, as we're getting closer to the draft, for me, it's kind of fluctuated with him. Like, he was higher, then he fell a little bit on people's boards. Now it looks like he is creeping back up to being a top 10 potential type of guy in the NBA draft.
I mean, everybody loves potential, and that's basically what this kid oozes. He made his mark during the under-18 games. I want to say it was a 16-year-old. Had a fantastic showing at that tourney, and basically was like, okay, yeah, he's going to be one of the next kids up and coming. He's probably going to be a 4 at the NBA level. He's got good size, good touch shooting outside. He's worked on his three-point shot, and as you alluded to earlier, his stock has risen and fallen throughout the year. But that could be almost directly tied to his shooting struggles when he injured his thumb. So at this point, you're getting the most meaningful games of the year. Very similar to how Luka last year. We had that late season where it was like, I know I've been riding the Luka train the entire year and telling y'all you should pick him number 1, but people won't listen to me and says he's slow and old and whatever. No, I mean, you're just watching some of the better games of the season. As the season goes on, the games get better, they're more meaningful, and he's attributing more to this team.
And for a guy like Dave Yeager, it cost him his job.
Yeah.
Because he wanted Luka.
Well, that's the problem.
Vlade did not.
You can want a player, but you can't publicly come out and continue to talk about how much better your team would be if you had taken the player that you wanted.
I don't know. Luka looked pretty good, even on a tanking Mavs team.
Yeah.
I
don't disagree.
Mathematically tanking, like smart tanking.
I don't disagree.
Mavs team. But yeah, the thing with me with Sekou is I feel like he's a guy kind of similar to... It's like if you took our Nasir Little conversation and mixed it with our Tyler Hero conversation. Because much like Nasir Little, he's a guy that you're going to draft, and he's going to be a 2 to 3 or like a 3-year project is what I'll say.
Really?
Because he's not going to be a guy to me that comes out and right away just lights it up. He's not Luka Doncic.
Could be Rodion's Crooks.
He could be Rodion's Crooks, but I don't think he's... I think it's going to take him at least 2 years at the minimum. That's
the only reason I bring up Rodions is because he actually got a starting role this year on the Nets with their janky ass rotations.
And they're a playoff team.
And he played pretty well.
If I'm not mistaken, you were always pulling for Rodions.
I was. He was one of my draft darlings when the season started.
Dave just falls in love with the international players.
Well, the problem is, like, for those of you who don't know, like, I've been on the show. I feel like I was like relegated early. I was like, "Oh, Dave, you love basketball so much. You get to watch the Euro stuff." And I was like, "I'm fine with that. I enjoy watching different games and shit. So sure." So I watch a lot of them.
Can we call you the international savant of the podcast?
I'm not a savant. I'll go with the intermediary. Prospect scout.
Because I will say, last year, I'll be honest, I was on the
you were calling Luka like Mario Hezonja all over again. I was like, no, they're not even close.
I did say that
like 8 times.
Out of my mouth.
And I kept yelling at you every time.
He could be, and it's funny. Luka comes into the league. Mario seems to find Super Mario form on the Knicks. It's funny how minutes.
It only took till the end of the year.
Yeah, it's funny how minutes is kind of what he needed.
Well, no, he needs a coach. They didn't have one. They had ISO. I'm sorry, it's going to go into a mini rant about Mario Hezonja. He is incredibly talented, super athletic, and the fucking Knicks are idiots. Like, I can't believe how dumb they are as an organization. But head coach-wise, I get it. I love Fizdale most of the time, but he had no idea how to run an offense. There was no scheme. It was just ISO-heavy ball handlers.
Defense.
It was just ISO-heavy ball handlers. Every point guard they put into the game did fairly well, except for Frank. And at the end, Frank even had his best games as a point guard, but like they were few and far between. With Mario, you even watch it, like when he got serious minutes in playing time and ball forced into his hands due to injuries of other point guards or primary ball handlers, he played his best basketball.
Yeah.
And you're like, maybe this kid's not washed up after all. Maybe he does have talent. And I just want to smack you upside the head and be like, It's almost like they don't watch.
Because when he was drafted, man, that was not
his
a good
highlight
years.
reel was insane.
It was not. I'm talking about his days in Orlando.
Oh yeah,
They were like, ugh.
Well, he didn't find his time until weirdly he was playing a small ball 4 for them, and that worked out well. But that did not translate directly to New York's game.
But going back into Sekou,
rant over.
This is where I feel like with the Nasir, he's going to be a project to me. Where the Tyler Hero discussion links up here is I feel like his range is going to be 10 to 15. Like, he'll be a lottery pick.
Yeah,
might fall just out of the lottery, but I could see him being a pick where, like, how you said with Tyler Hero, where, I could see him going 10.
Yeah.
I could see a team in the top 10. Maybe if it's like I don't know. I'm throwing out Atlanta only because they've got 2 picks right now.
Atlanta will be interesting.
But if there's a team in the top 10 that's like, hey, you know what? We can take on a project. Like, we are not in the mode of, hey, we need someone to contribute day one. We can take a project and get the most out of them in that 2 to 3 years.
I think that he's able to, like, he's not going to put up, 20-something points like Luka did. But, like, I think he can come in and score, 8 points a game for you and be a role player. But it's just the fact that he's so young. He doesn't turn 19 until, I think, late December.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm guessing he's one of the youngest people in the class. I don't know if he's the youngest to commit yet.
By draft day, he'll be 18 and a half.
Yeah, he is so young. So you've got a super young prospect who's 6'9", great size, shooting touch from the outside, and he's got the wingspan, he's got the foot speed to cover up for a lot of defensive range there. Just from a toolkit standpoint, a 4 with his mobility and his touch is super attractive. And because he's so young and has that international experience and has shown up on a fairly big stage, I want to put him top 10 as like, this guy could be a lock top 10. And I don't know that he's, you're coining longer term project. I think he can be a contributor early on, but I think he has a high ceiling for me.
Do you think and this is me, of course, it's like, every prospect is different.
Yeah.
But the thing I'm going to throw out, because I know people are going to think about it, is it... how do I phrase this? Because I don't want to put him in the same box.
Right.
But I'll throw it out there.
Do it.
Frank. Because Frank was a kid who, similarly, Frank was about 18
Frank was one of the youngest drafts. Yep.
And we've seen what's happened with Frank. Now, I know the New York situation, the whole situation that Frank's been in, has not been ideal.
Yeah, 2 coaches in 2 years, absolutely garbage front office, no offensive schemes at all. The fact that he was a purely defensive prospect and, has done fairly well defensively, actually. His rookie year, he and KP, I think, were the best duo defensively in the NBA, unfortunately due to KP's limited health and playing time. Ben and Joel took that over last year.
Yeah.
But still, when you have 2 guys that young who are that dominant defensively, like, that should be a sign. It's like, this kid's got something. We need to work on his offensive game. And this year, they were like, healthy DNP, now you're going to play 35 minutes, 12 minutes DNP, 32 minutes DNP. Like, it's just, they spin a fucking wheel. Yeah. I don't understand Fizdale.
That goes into the role of also, like, that team is tanking.
Well,
that team was tanking.
If they were tanking, they'd play more consistently then, you think, because he was struggling. I mean, but that's the thing. It's just so frustrating, his development. And
that's why, to me, like, it's not something like, oh my God, will he be just like Frank? Like, on the scale of Luka to Frank, where will he be? It's not that for me. To
be fair, he has a much better offensive game than Frank does. Sekou, at least, is comfortable shooting from 3. He's comfortable shooting the ball. Frank was someone who was like, he can hit open shots, but that's not why you're drafting him. You're drafting him because he plays lockdown defense as a guard and has great wingspan and can cover 3s even if he needs to. Sekou, he's a more well-rounded prospect, and he's got the size to play a 4. They might sneak him in as a 3 in some lineups, but I'm really excited to see him fit on an NBA team because he just has versatility.
Well, and that's my question. Where does he fit? Because to me, it's the mixture of have time for him to develop, but also look at what we've seen with Frank. I feel like if Sekou's in the bad situation, it's going to stunt his growth in the NBA.
Absolutely. So, I mean, like, if you look at teams who could use a 4, I mean, as high as 6 right now. Obviously, the lotto hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
With the Wizards, could be an outside shot. That's as high as I could see him going, and that would be bold. But same thing. Pelicans absolutely could take him. The the Grizzlies probably don't need him. I would steer clear. You have Jaren Jackson. I know that people are thinking Sekou could play a 3 still. I would lean away from that. Yeah. I think there's other guys in that area I'd rather have.
You're slotting him in at the 4, not the 3.
I think he's probably a 4.
So you're thinking...
I think he can put on some muscle mass. Right now they've got him
a 4 that can guard 3s, but not play the 3.
Probably. Okay. I mean, like offensively, I guess it really doesn't matter. Positionless basketball. So yeah, sure. If you're the Grizzlies, go ahead and take him.
Love the hand motion.
Has to. Hawks absolutely could take him. Timberwolves, that one is interesting because I think they can't take him. I think that's the one team like you need to find someone to pair with Cat. Whether you're going out and getting your future point guard replace Jeff Teague with, which I don't know if Kobe White will be available here, or if you're trying to find a 5 who can, help lock down a la like Brandon Clark and he trading off, the defensive offensive matchup there, I think would work really well. So I think that's the one team that I don't see him going to. Lakers, similarly, just the timeline's wrong.
Yeah.
You take him if you're trading him to the Pelicans.
Exactly. And the Pelicans are one that, like, once you said it, I'm like, yeah, that's interesting because I put Brandon Clark there, I believe, in our last mock.
Yep.
Only because their front court is dysfunctional. Like, and when I say dysfunctional, I'm not saying like I shouldn't use the word
Anthony Davis is they're dysfunctional as a team.
I'm just saying there's a lot of uncertainty. Like Anthony Davis won't be there. Julius Randle might not be there. The only one that they have under contract for next year as of right now is Ja. Like that's the only one.
Oh, you're disrespecting somebody else.
Well, I'm saying under contract.
Yeah, no,
like,
I know.
Could come back.
Yeah, I think he's. I'm gonna look it up.
Okay.
You continue on. I'll hit you back.
Like, and that's the thing where I don't have one solid team. Like, I know in mocks I've used to say like, oh, Sekou would work really good with the Heat.
Christian Wood.
Yes.
Yeah, he put up big numbers at the end of the year. They were in games that didn't matter against teams that didn't care, but the numbers happened.
Yeah, but like the team I used to say for Sekou, like, oh, they'd be a really good fit because of the coach, is Miami.
Oh yeah,
but I'm unsure about the situation, especially with like. It depends to me how soon does Hassan Whiteside move on because that team's full of drama.
$27 million says he doesn't.
I know. To me, I wonder if
so
that
he's got
team
next
is
year.
going to be.
That's it. They're 1 year away from being rid of Hassan Whiteside.
And then I look at the Celtics, and I know we talk about the Celtics for like a Nasir Little.
They could use replacement for Marooks.
They could, and I look at it also of like they're a team where it's like we've got so many players. So what? The first year you don't contribute.
Yeah,
we've got guys. We'll be a playoff
Come and
team.
work with our team, train with us, and who better to train with than guys like Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Gordon Hayward. Those are guys you want to be around.
Yeah, and you've got a coach like Brad Stevens that can work with young talent.
Absolutely. So, I mean, that would be a great situation for him if he fell to them.
I just, in the top 10 right now, I don't know where he goes besides maybe like a New Orleans or maybe in Atlanta because Atlanta could be like, hey, he fits what we're trying to do here, and we can fit him.
They could try to slot him at the 3, or if they roll Collins at the 5, they can put him at the 4 and try to make it work. Defensively, that'll be a question mark, but you're already a question mark with Trey on the floor.
Well, let's move into the next guy that we were going to talk about.
Who's that?
And that is Cam Reddish.
Cam Reddish.
So Cam Reddish is a guy... Let's see. When's the last time we talked about Cam? Brandon and I talked about him on the last one. He's kind of like a Nasir Little. Notice these guys that are like repeat offender, repeat visitor, where it's like when your draft stock starts falling, we're going to talk about you quite a bit.
It's noticeable.
On big boards. Yep. This is the lowest I believe I've had Cam. Last time I had Cam still in my top 5 at 4.
Yep.
I was still sticking by him. And then I even had him at 2 in my 2.0 that you and I did. Yeah, so I had him at 2, stuck him at 2. He fell to 4. I stuck by him. Now I have him at 9.
You got him at 9.
Cam Reddish.
Sean has him at 8.
Yeah.
I've got him at 7.
So we're right there in the 7 to 9 range. What are your thoughts on Cam Reddish now that all the games are over and all we've got left is the combine?
He plays basketball okay. He's got an NBA body, though, and that's what makes you think. And when you watched him play, like he had a couple of those games where with Zion off the floor, Cam Reddish looks like a pretty good prospect. And that kind of gave me the hope that I'm like, maybe it's just the relegation of the role, maybe if he was, maybe if the ball is forced into his hands in different situations, you could get a lot more out of him. And I think part of it's a confidence issue. You saw with his shot not falling, there were a lot of times when offensively he seemed checked out of the situation. Defensively, though, when he is checked in, he absolutely is fantastic. And that's the problem is he's a player where I think it's mental. I think it's mental. He's got the NBA body. Everybody wants to give him shit about his shot not falling. I think he's got a decent shot still. I'm looking at him as a guy who you rehab him correctly, you get him in, you build up his confidence, you put the ball in his hands, and then you might see something special like what you hope for him coming out of high school.
Yeah, I think it's the combination for me of playing with Zion and RJ. Yeah. Not saying that they're not close, because they were.
Oh, yeah. No, they're best friends. They went there together on purpose.
But on the court, you've got to play with the best guy in the draft, who's getting all the media attention.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say it's probably not easy play style-wise for him to mesh with an RJ Barrett, a guy who we have compared the Mamba mentality to, of like, RJ's just going to take all the shots.
It was out the gates, basically. It was like, who's going to... We asked the question before the season started, like, how is the ball going to move in that offensive system? And the answer ended up being RJ Barrett's going to be the primary. And then, Cam got relegated, and... Is that because Cam's not as good of a passer as him? Is that because Cam's not this? So it kind of brings a lot of questions to air. So you do have to wonder that. I feel like Cam's a guy with a pretty low floor, but
a really
also
high ceiling.
It's just a super wide range, and I don't know where to put him. It feels like I want to dump him lower because of his performance. But at the same time, but he has potentially a chance to be better than every guy below him on this list.
Well, and it's a confusing thing because as of right now, let's say everything stays chalk, although Dave keeps telling me it won't.
There is 0% chance.
There's always a chance, Dave.
What can I bet you?
I'm not betting.
Arby's.
Fine. If it doesn't stay chalk, I'll buy you Arby's.
Ooh, deal.
But deal. I mean, for me, let's say it does stay chalk. Knicks go with Zion, Cavs go RJ. Ja goes to the Suns.
I like how chalk means the 1 through 3 order stays the same, which it chalk could mean that the Suns could have number 1 or the Cavs could have number 1.
Well, I'm just saying you're giving the Knicks right now.
You're giving the Knicks the benefit of the doubt here, and I'm like, I feel like that's too nice to Knicks. I feel like my episode is shit on the Knicks episode.
I'm saying I'm saying record wise is by
equal
chalk.
Percentage chance.
But like the Bulls at 4, and maybe this is because I'm a Bulls fan. I think about this, but like at 4, there's numerous things then we could do because Ja's not on the table. Do you go to Kobe White? Do you go at Darius Garland, who some have said, which I am like, no. Had an argument with John on the Patreon podcast about that. A friendly argument as we disagree about that. Do you go Jared Culver? Do you go DeAndre Hunter? Or do you look at that and go Cam Reddish? And the thing with Cam Reddish that I think is because of the struggles, I am starting to buy in on the commenters that have said he is going to be the biggest steal of the draft. Because I feel like he's a prospect.
Been a long time since I've seen that comment.
Well, I'm starting to buy in on it like more because I feel like the skills are there. I feel like the basketball IQ is there. I feel like the basketball body is there. It's just confidence. And if he's in the right situation to give him the confidence, like I'll give the spoiler. You check out our draft comps we did with John after watching the good film, the highlights, not the lowlights of Cam Reddish. I was seeing kind of what is it, Kevin O'Connell from The Ringer? What he was saying. We're kind of like that Paul George. That to me is the ceiling for Cam Reddish. Of like, that's the type of player he can be. And I feel like because of these lowlights, because of the struggles that he's had, he's going to go lower than he probably should and could end up being the biggest steal of the draft when we look like 3-4 years down the line.
There's a chance of that still. I mean, there's a chance any of these guys could be, but I agree. He is one of the highest floors just from a draft
ceiling
prospect.
Or highest floor?
Ceiling, my bad.
Okay.
Floor, low. Real low. Floor, like, worse Andrew
like
Wiggins.
Through the basement.
Like, worse Andrew Wiggins.
The floor is the basement? Is to reverse Michael MJ's comments, the floor is the basement here? That's just for me, like, there's so much potential with him. It's just, can you get him to be the Cam Reddish that we all want him to be with the skills that he has. Let's move on to the last guy, though. And this is a guy you and I talked about at nauseum. You can check the segment out. I'm going to have it pop up above our heads. Dave and I talked at nauseum. Dave, I'm going to put you in the shoes of Sean.
All right.
Try to be Sean Anderson for a second.
Let me kick the feet up.
Okay.
Sean Anderson here.
So I'm going to ask you this like you're Sean. Hey, Sean.
Yep.
Why'd you put Darius Garland at 4?
I mean, Darius Garland's one of the best scorers in the draft.
You're playing with the hair. Good. You're getting into character, Dave.
Darius Garland's one of the best scorers in this draft, and it's Sean, by the way.
Yeah. Sean. Sorry, Sean.
Thanks. Look, Darius Garland, one of the best scorers in the draft. Excellent handle. He's got everything you want from an offensive point guard in today's NBA. Like, if you wanted to build a mold of like a little Dame Lillard, it would be pretty similar to what Darius Garland showed us. I know, limited games, but you look at the high school tape, you look at the eternity, you look at what he did in those 5 college games. You got to love that. I mean, he's an offensive dynamo, and what's not to love about that for the Bulls?
To me, the biggest thing is the injury as Dave snaps back in. By the way, great Sean impression of just the hair alone.
You gotta.
Sean's now, I know what's going to happen. Sean's watching this or listening. Yeah. Sean, don't get insecure about
Sean,
playing with
I know
your
you're
hair.
Watching.
Like, it's okay, but it's just
I was on the feet up or the leg twitch. I wasn't sure which to go, so I did the feet up.
Sean, it's if the playing with your hair for Sean is like if I asked Dave to be me, Dave would just go, well, guys, I don't know what I want to do here. I'm just going to play with my shirt while I talk. Like
to me, it's one of those things where, like, to me, one of those things to me.
Yeah.
That would be, I would do this the entire time. Oh, fuck you.
So we each have a physical tick.
Yeah,
and Sean plays with his hair. I pull at my shirt. Dave scratches at his fingers. Like, it's just, we all have it. And I have my verbal ticks as well. The thing that I will say, I think I'm better at than 5 years ago.
Yeah.
I don't think I say the word like as much as I used to.
I believe you've gotten better at that.
But I've replaced it with other things.
Correct.
That's also what I've noticed. But me with Garland,
I made it worse.
You ran over your cord?
Yeah, just we'll continue on. I'll just be hunched over a little.
Okay, so Dave ran over his cord, and now he's really tight. But for me, the big thing is the injury.
Yep.
Like, when you have that injury...
Yeah, but everybody has those injuries.
To me, like I said during our segment when we talked about Darius Garland, is the fact of I got to see what he does at the combine.
Yeah,
I have to
so
see
much
that.
For him, Bull, incredible dependency on it. And I just can't wait to see what he does because I think he's one of those players who absolutely can jump right back up to the top without a problem. But it's a big question. And
Dave's like, I got to fix my cord.
Yeah, go ahead.
But, I mean, for me, it's the medicals.
For you, it's...
Number 2, that's another thing for me, or the way I see it. But...
So much better.
It's just... The injury is such a big red flag to me right now. And the thing that we talked about in our Garland segment that I won't go huge into, but I'll mention here, what's he going to, and yet again, at the combine, what's he going to look like at the combine because we haven't seen him play since the injury? Is he going to be able to do the same things that you're expecting him to do because of the injury? Like, is he going to be able to rely on the scoring? Yeah, the implications. Is he going to rely on that knee, or will that knee injury make him tweak his play style a little bit?
I don't think it's going to make him change his play style. If anything, he'll just have lost half a step. He still goes to the hole pretty confidently, is my guess. I think that his shot will still look pretty clean because that was his biggest thing coming into this year. And he's not a guy who, like, absolutely jumps out of the gym when he goes to take shots. So, like, the lift on a shot, I'm not super concerned with. He's got a solid motion. It's fundamentally sound. I think it just comes down to, like, how much has he lost in that lateral agility? You know, if he's not able or confident to make cuts, and when he drives to the hoop, if he's worried about his landing, then I get the Derrick Rose flashbacks. And I'm like, stay away. Because doing that Chicago fan, I don't know if we could do that again.
I'll be honest, I wouldn't pick him with Chicago. I would take either Hunter Culver or Kobe White over him.
I don't know if I take... it's tough. It's tough, Chicago fan.
I'm going to throw you a curveball. Sure. Didn't prep you for this, but...
You didn't prep me for any of this. I'm just winging this.
After looking
I'm literally looking at Arby's menu right now.
After looking at our big board,
Yep.
we're not going to talk about him in the top 5 because he's not there for any of us. What's your thought really quick about Romeo Langford? Because he's fallen quite a bit. I mean, I didn't mention him in the last one because I think I'm the only one that has him in this range.
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts about Romeo in the draft? Because he used to be a lot higher, and it looks like he's falling as we get closer to the draft.
I feel like we've kept him about the same the whole time. We're pretty good judges of character.
What?
I feel like we kept him about the same for the majority. Like he went from like 7 to 10 to 10 to 20 range.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess but over the whole year, he's been pretty consistently there. Look, we thought he was one of the best shooters in the NBA, or coming into the NBA draft. He was not. He's not a 3-level scorer. He scores fairly well from the mid-range, which if you value that, you're in the minority now. His free throw percentage makes you hope that one day he can have confidence at three-point shot and be consistent. Defensively, there's questions around his game. Indiana had some good defenders around him, which helped cover up some of that, but there were still those games where it's just like, yeah, no, he's not locked on.
Yeah, he's a guy that I want to be able to put higher.
Yeah.
But I can't, there's like so many other guys where it's like, yeah, I'd take him over him.
Like how often do you want a great mid-range scorer?
In today's NBA?
Yeah.
Well, it depends. Is he going to be playing with the truth? Is he going to be better than D-Wade? That's the question here,
Jesus
Dave.
Christ.
But no, I mean, it's all about...
He's got good size, though. He's 6'6".
If you can't shoot
long.
the 3-ball,
yeah,
you're going to get knocked down a little bit in today's NBA.
With him, I don't know if he can't shoot it. It's just, it's not right. He needs to continue to adjust his shot until that looks better, because I think he's got the mid-range down. He does a lot of his damage from there and from the inside, but when it comes to the outside shot, it's not a hesitancy. It's not like there's a massive hitch in his shot.
Yeah.
It's just it's just off, and it's consistently off, and that makes me wonder. It's like, is it like a thing, where he just needs when he puts on additional muscle? Because if you've seen him, he's fairly skinny. When additional muscle comes, it'll be more of a natural motion for him. It's just right now he's forcing it a little bit harder. I don't know. I mean, there's too many unknowns to tell you why exactly that doesn't work for him. But if he can land that, then yeah, he's a 3-level scorer. He's 6'6" at the 2 guard. He's what you would hope for from a traditional 2. So there's upside. But
this is where you guys come in. Let us know what you think down below in that comment section about anyone in our 6 through 15 and anyone we talked about with Sekou, Cam, with Garland, and then I threw in Langford for Dave at the end, kind of throwing you that curveball. But let us know what you guys think down below in that comment section. But Dave, let's close out the podcast taking a look at our 1 through 5 in our big board. If you haven't looked at the rest of it, the 6 through 15, the 16 through 25, what are you doing? Go ahead and check that out. If you're on podcast services around the world, thank you for going through everything with us. My last NFL mock draft, this NBA big board. You guys are real troopers. And also, if you're on iTunes, Apple Podcast, or if you have an Apple ID, make sure to go give us that 5-star rating. It really means the world to us, and it really helps us get into the ear holes of more people so that we can be noticed and be heard by more people around the world. But Dave, let's start our 1 through 5 with you. Give us your top 5.
Sure. My top 5 goes like this. At number 5, I've got Bull out of Oregon. At number 4, I've got Jarrett Culver out of Texas Tech. And number 3, it's RJ Barrett from Duke. Number 2, my boy, Ja. And at number 1, no shit, it's Zion Williamson.
And then, Sean, we've got at number 5, DeAndre Hunter, the guard forward out of Virginia.
At number 4, we've got Darius Garland, the guard out of Vandy.
Then at 3, Ja Morant. Ja will provide, the guard from Murray State.
The disrespect from Sean for putting RJ Barrett at number 2.
And then Zion at number 1. I mean, I think that's pretty clear across the board. But then me, DeAndre Hunter at 5, Jarrett Culver at 4, RJ Barrett at number 3, Ja will provide at 2, and then Zion Williamson at number 1. Little Z, because Big Z is our
patron
who called in this past week, and you guys should check out why he thinks the Suns potentially should skip on Zion and draft Ja, or does he? You got to go and check it out on the fast break. But Dave, we're just going to kind of dance around these guys and talk about all of them. The first one I want to talk about, which we've talked about ad nauseum, so I just want to get it out of the way. Tap into the mind of Sean again. Why does he have RJ? Like, I want to say, why does he have RJ above Ja? But I feel like we've
the knee
heard,
going. All right, the knee's going.
But I feel like we've heard Sean say at nauseum why he has RJ above Ja. What do you have to say to those people that put RJ at 2, Ja at 3.
I mean, RJ is a wing, and what's most important position in basketball right now? It's the wing. It's the wing. So if you can get a guy who can have the ball in his hands as much as RJ can, and then you have someone who, I mean, John Morant's good, but like point guards are almost expendable at points in time, and I gotta think that just RJ provides more availability. He's a better all-around player, and he can move the ball around himself. And I know decision making's not quite there, but he'll get there with time. He's a guy who can come in the league and put up like 18-5-5 maybe. That's maybe 18-4-4.
At first, I thought you were talking as Dave. I forgot you went into Sean mode, and I saw you play with the hair again, and I was like, oh,
nope, just constantly doing the hair.
That's the sign. I'm like, that's the sign.
Just
after you were like talking up RJ, I'm like, oh, he's in Sean mode.
You can't see it, but the leg is going like a fucking jackrabbit.
The twitch?
Yeah.
The twitch?
It's going hard.
For me, it's just, here's the bigger question I have with mine, because Ja is my number 2, much like you.
Yeah.
The question that I have is...
We're shedding over here.
If let's say you're the Cavs at 2.
Yep.
How likely is a team like anyone except the point guard needy teams, like Bulls, Suns, I guess you could throw Memphis in there. Let's say a point guard, non-needy point guard team lands at number 2 after Zion gets taken, ahead of the Bulls and Suns. What's the percentage you think we see a trade by either the Bulls or the Suns to move up and get Ja at 2 compared to, let's say, Cleveland, if it ended up like it is right now,
if
Cleveland
has
not taking RJ at 2 and trading to either the Suns or the Bulls to get...
If they go back one spot, all
so like
for
with
it.
Phoenix.
Yeah, if they could trade back for Phoenix and get anything for it, absolutely worth it, because Phoenix is trading up for one player. They're not trading up for RJ Barrett. Well, RJ Barrett's going to be a good pro probably, but they need that point guard. So if they're going to get a deal out of that, the concern would be if they had to drop back to 4. I think you had brought this up a while ago with the whole, you can play them against each other. Use the Phoenix Chicago shit, take the highest bid, be like, oh, well, they're going to offer us this, so if you don't come back, and try to do that to your favor, because if you risk falling out of, if RJ's gone and Ja's gone, are you really going to be happy with Jarrett Culver or with Cam Reddish or with Bull or with any of those guys who are in that 4 slot maybe? And that's the question: is that extra draft stock worth it for you? The Bulls don't have another pick this year, so you're not going to get that double up pick. I don't believe the Suns have another first round pick this year either. Do they? I feel like I said that out loud.
I'm looking it up. So the Bulls we don't own our own, but we have the 4th and 38th. We've got Memphis's second rounder.
So no first round. Yeah. Now the team has a second first rounder.
Yeah, and then the Suns have the 32nd overall pick.
Which is almost a first rounder, but without the contractual obligations, so no. I think that's the thing is, do you feel good about yourself if you pass up on a chance at RJ Barrett for a guy like Jarrett Culver? And where's that window at? Because I'm assuming everybody's saying the second best, or the consensus number 4 guy is Jarrett Culver.
Maybe. It could be RJ. It could be and that's where I feel like...
No, because we're all saying RJ's 3. We think he's going top 3.
Yeah, but I'm saying at 4, I think that's when the door opens. Do you go with Jarrett Culver? Do you go with DeAndre Hunter? Do you go with Cam Reddish?
Right.
When I'm talking,
but do you feel good about that as a team? You're trading back, so you're getting that guy plus a pick next year.
If I'm Cleveland, no. But I just simmed the lottery a couple times until I got one that would work out to this.
Yeah.
Check out this one.
Sure.
Number 1, the Lakers. They get AD. The Pelicans get Zion. Or the Lakers just draft Zion. Yeah. But at number 2, the Hawks are at number 2. Immediately after them are the Cavaliers. And then the Suns at 4. It would go Suns, then Knicks at 5, Bulls at 6.
That'd be
Which
terrible.
I'm a Bulls fan. I'm like, fuck, it happened again.
Taking Darius Garland or Kobe White.
But for the Suns, in that situation, Hawks don't need Ja. Hawks don't really need RJ.
Oh, no, the Hawks would 100% take RJ.
They would. But do you think the Hawks would be a team that would be more okay with trading from 2 to 4, knowing that Cleveland's probably taking RJ and RJ will not be there when they draft at 4 to get that extra pick out of the Suns?
How many picks do they need? They're the Hawks. I know.
All the picks, Dave.
They're pulling a Boston
All
on us
the
almost
picks.
at that point. I mean, they've already got 2 picks this year, assuming that Mavs converts after
and in this situation, it would, because
Yeah.
the Mavs would be at 10.
So with that being said, that would be interesting. I think if I'm the Hawks and I get RJ Barrett, I would take that.
So in this
and hand it in
situation,
right
if you
away.
were the Hawks, would you just take RJ?
Unless I got next year's first from the Suns, you're saying?
Suns would be at 4.
Suns or the Bulls?
Bulls are at 6.
Yeah. I would need a first from I would need a first from them, but see the problem is like either one of those teams, more likely the Bulls, could win more games next year if everybody stays healthy.
Yeah, Bulls are probably winning more games next year. It's the Suns that could be in the same situation.
Yeah. So if you're getting I don't even know if the Suns can give up that pick. But yeah, it'd be interesting. I feel like RJ Barrett would be a better hit for them though.
Yeah,
I think I would confidently take RJ Barrett at 4 or at 2 as the Hawks, unless it was just like an absolute grandstand of an offer.
the other thing I wanted to bring up is Jarrett Culver, because both you and I have him at 4. Sean had him fall to 6. In your mind, what made you? Because for me, I was like, you know what? I looked at it and I said, did he play like diddly poo in Minnesota? Yeah, he did. The Minneapolis games, we'll just forget like they never happened when it comes to Jarrett Culver. Also, I know I've said this to you off camera, but I want to say it in front of the masses.
Sure.
Why have the announcement at the stadium if you're just going to leave?
I agree.
Like, I told you, it's like,
Seems
it would
a
make
bit
sense
silly.
if you're like, hey, I'm going to stay, but like, hey, I'm going to get everyone together, and bye, guys, I'm leaving you.
It
have
seems
fun
a
next
bit
year.
silly. I don't agree with that necessarily.
But what went through your mind to keep Culver in the top 5 and at 4 instead of having him fall out?
I look at his body of work as a whole. You know, from his first year in there as Texas Tech as a role player playing behind Zaire Smith. This year he's asked to, ball heavy duty as well as the leading scorer, as well as one of the best defenders in college. Like he's progressed across the board, and his decision making needed improvement. He can't go full Kobe mode, at the to win games. But at the same time, I look at a very versatile wing who's a two-way player, super valuable right now. And having someone who can help take that pressure off of your primary ball handler, whether it is Trae Young, whether it is, I would even say, God, what's his name on the Cavs? I can't remember his name.
Position?
Rookie point guard.
Oh, Colin Sexton.
Thank you. Yeah, either one of those two guys, happy to have him as a secondary ball handler. So I'm all for it. I think that he deserves to be there from just his year as a body of work. I don't agree with Sean putting Darius Garland there, just because the fact that we've gotten to see everything about Jarrett Culver's games, the good and the bad. If his worst possible games were the last two that showed, which obviously less than ideal to happen in your biggest games of your college career.
Yeah.
But look, we've now seen how low it can go, and he's still effective on defense. He's still super engaged. He cares about the game so much. He was so passionate, so in, and that's what I love. So I'm taking him with a top 4 pick probably.
See, to me, it works with the guys that we have 4, 5, and then even 6.
Yep.
For me and you, Jarrett Culver, DeAndre Hunter, Ball.
Yep.
I think those guys are interchangeable between the 4 through 6 range. It just depends on what you're putting value in, because Jarrett Culver for me was always going to be, if I'm pushing Cam out of the top 5, Jarrett Culver was going to move up to 4. Because it's like you said, body of work. Just because you had 2 bad games at the end of the year doesn't mean I'm going to tank your stock all the way. I'm going to look at what you've done all of this year and even all of last year. Where have you come from? I know there's people out there that are saying, but guys, does it mean he can't play in the big games when the pressure is at its most? Is he going to crumble?
Yeah.
Well, they're still kids. You got to think about that. They are still kids in college, still growing. But other than that, I look at the other two. DeAndre Hunter, I feel like part of the reason why I put him in my top 5 is because of that championship game for sure. Like he showed up, and those shots he was shooting from the outside was like,
Big
all
boy
right,
shots.
they're big boy shots, and you're hitting from the outside. And then there's Ball, where I'm like, I wish that it was the top 6 and not the top 5, because I want to have Ball in my top 5.
Yeah.
But I couldn't if I was going to put DeAndre Hunter there. Like, there are these guys, I all like them. I all want them to be there.
Yeah.
But I only had 2 spots for them.
Mm-hmm.
In your mind, what was the big thing of, because you chose Bol Bol over DeAndre Hunter, where I chose Hunter over Bol Bol.
Yeah, I just think that I'm in love with Bol Bol's game, to be honest. He's a 7'2", potentially 7'3" guy who is chucking 3-pointers up. And everybody's like, he's going to shoot like 1 or 2 a game in the NBA. No, he's not. His game is to launch threes. He's a 7-footer with amazing range, a fantastic touch with the basketball in his hands. Yes, he's a little more turnover prone because as a 7-footer, he shouldn't be as confident dribbling the basketball as he is, but he is because he's been playing so long. So you're going to get a couple more turnovers out of him than a guy like a Jackson Hayes or a Daniel Gafford, who's probably not going to put the ball on the floor as much. But at the same time, you're not going to get the level of special that Bol Bol brings to a team. Offensively, spectacular. Defensively, he's got some room to grow, but at least he has that length on his side where he can easily block shots on the perimeter. It just comes down to the fact that the medicals coming up in a couple weeks mean everything.
Yeah.
And here's the thing.
May 15th, I believe, is when the combine starts.
Yeah. Here's the thing. If they're not amazing, I still would probably take him in my lottery.
Yeah.
It's just
there's just so much potential.
Do I care? No. Rehab full year. Pull Harry Giles. Be my guest. Build up your body.
Well, how many times have we seen that? We even saw that with. Didn't we see that with? Markelle Fultz. Didn't he take the first full year to kind of, like, he wasn't playing that first year?
He did play at the end of the first year.
Okay. Then
he took off 95% of the year. 98% of the year.
But we've seen with a lot more teams that, like Ben Simmons too.
Yeah, it's like, just the Sixers.
Just redshirt that full year.
Joel Embiid.
Yeah, Joel Embiid. Well, his was actually because of injury.
So was Ben Simmons.
Was it? I thought his was just, hey, we're just going to redshirt you that first year.
No, Ben seriously got hurt.
Oh, that's right. I'm thinking about. He's so good now to where it's like you forget why he
Is he
sat
good
that
though?
First year.
He can't shoot from the outside.
He's not. I didn't say he was the best.
I'm sorry, Jake.
Dave.
I'm sorry, Jake.
He's average, Dave. He's average.
Oh my god.
But Dudley's apparently a nobody.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, because I just pulled up two players. Like, people are gonna take Bol Bol and compare him to Mo Bamba. So that's who we saw last year.
Yeah.
In 16 minutes per game this year, Mo Bamba averaged about 1.5 threes per game. Or are you gonna see it of the Kristaps Porzingis variety, where Kristaps was averaging almost 30 a game. He was at 28.4, averaged his rookie season 3.5 attempts per game. I know different teams. I know vastly different players.
I'm not answering the question because of that.
But it's just like, I don't think, to agree with you, I don't think Bol Bol is going to come in and only shoot 1 3 a game.
Yeah, no, I think that was a silly comment.
You know what he could be shooting? The shot that you love so much.
The trailing 3?
The trailing 3. Like, and if people are like, oh my God, he's slow. Well, if everyone
that plays into his hand,
he just sits back.
Brook Lopez literally reinvented his career around standing in a corner in the trailing 3. Yep. So it's got value.
Dave's like, now I like Bol Bol even more, Ricky.
I know.
The trailing 3.
I just love the trailing 3. And I made that connection earlier this week, I think. Yeah.
With me, it's just those 3 players are going to be interchangeable at that 4. And that's why I've mentioned earlier, where 1, 2, and 3 are a lock.
Yeah.
We know who's going 1. We know who's going 2. We know who's going 3. 2 and 3 might be flipped.
Yes.
With where
depending on the teams. Yep.
But at 4, the door just opens wide.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, who do you want there at number 4? And that's why I kind of agree with people that I've seen in the comment section of like, we could see a ton of trades this year. I don't know if that's hoping that we see a ton of trades, but like, I could see teams trading from 4 on because they're not in love with any of these guys, or they're not for sure guys like we see at 1, at 2, or at 3. Last question I want to ask you in this top 5, and this is a very easy one, Dave.
Sure.
If you had to name any team in the lottery that could nail down the number 1 pick, who needs Zion Williamson the most?
Shit.
Which team in the lottery needs
the
Zion
76ers?
The most? I knew you were going to say that.
The 76ers need Zion the most. Are you watching them right now? They need another guy who has no outside shot. Can you just bring that up to camera?
So I'm just going to say it.
Yeah.
So the Sixers are at 1.
You got to show them, because I don't know if they believe that one-click touch.
The Heat are at 2.
Oh.
And the Suns are at 3.
That would be a funny day. Get that in focus. See if we can don't know if we can do that. We're trying. Bear with us as we work on these technical difficulties. But we have to show you it's not rigged. He literally clicked it once and it was 76ers. Whatever. You can send out a tweet. I don't care. No, I think that's I'm chaos theory, Ricky. Give me them winning the lottery. Give me a team like the. Are you done?
Go ahead.
Give me them winning the lottery. Give me the Lakers winning the lottery. Give me the Mavs winning the lottery. Like, give me any one of those teams where it's just like long shot.
Focus now.
Long shot wins. That's my game. I want this year to be absolutely crazy.
Yeah, it's Sixers at 1, Miami at 2, Phoenix at 3. So it'd be Zion. And then if you're Miami at 2, who do you take? Do you take RJ or do you take Ja?
My heart is telling me Ja. But my mind is saying...
But my body is telling me yes.
I might still go... Like, here's the thing. Yes, we did see the best work out of Justice Winslow as a point guard, which makes me want to say you should go RJ
Barrett. You
Barrett.
could have a true point guard.
But you could have... Well, Justice Winslow's a really good player.
Yeah, but
Ja Morant is Ja Morant.
I would go Ja if I was the Heat at 2.
Then they have like no shooting though. That's my concern. I might go RJ Barrett. That's a great question. That's a great question.
And then if you're the Suns, you go RJ if Ja's off the board, right? Or do you trade back with the Bulls? The Bulls would be at 6.
I don't know. That's a shit show at that point.
I can't wait for this weekend. I can't wait for our live
The lottery is going to be fucking fantastic.
You know, I am hoping
it's a full-on
Dave,
fiesta.
that it's a shit show.
Yes.
Like, I don't want it to be. Like, last year, was it last year it ended up being chalk? I hate those years.
Yeah.
Absolutely hate them. Because it's like, why did I watch this? Why did I waste my time watching this half-hour thing before a playoff game?
It's true.
And if this is going to make it to where it doesn't stay chalk, I'm all for it. I'm all for this one, too. Hawks get Zion, Bulls get Ja.
Yeah.
Cleveland gets RJ, Suns, I'm sorry. Basically, we just flip and bump the Knicks out of the top 4. Any final thoughts on anybody in the big board before we end this thing?
I feel like we did a good job giving everybody some love.
Well, a little housekeeping here at the end. Number 1, NFL Draft Style. Dave and I will be live. 7 o'clock for sure. If you check in a little bit before that, we might go live a little bit before 7 before it starts. We will be live streaming the draft. Then we're going to record our special draft podcast that night. Also, if you're an Avengers Endgame fan, this Friday will be Avengers Endgame. Dave, I, and Johnny are seeing it Friday.
Yep.
That review will be up on Saturday. The live lottery, well, we say live lottery, but it's we basically do the lottery during the podcast. Our live lottery mock draft is this week for the fast break. A ton of things we got coming up this week for you guys. Make sure to check out patreon.com/mostvaluable-podcast for our bronze, silver, gold tier. Find out what happened on the MVP podcast. Make sure to join podcasts if you're at our gold tier and pick topics for podcasts if you're at our silver tier. And then also make sure to go over to iTunes and Apple Podcasts. Give us that 5-star rating because it really helps us out. Thank you guys for listening to the podcast on podcast services around the world. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you to Dave Oster for being here with me to record it all for you. And as always, have a good day, everybody.